All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another breakdown video. It is November 3rd, Monday. So beginning of a new month, beginning of a new week. Let's get into it. Quick little recap of the trade that we're currently in from last week. NZD USD weekly time frame is currently bearish. As I explained yesterday, I was just waiting for a wick to be created in the upper direction. And then I expect price to continue to the downside into this next area of interest. My take profit is slightly above the area of interest. I believe it's a daily area of interest where we have 1, 2, 3 structure points and a few wicks as well. So basically, going to wait for that continuation to the downside. As you can see, every time price shoots down, it always breaks the lower low, the previous lower low, creates lower high, breaks past that lower low, and always ends up closing a candle or two below it. So for this example here, we broke below, closed quite a bit further, then once again, broke below, closed further, here one more time, and that's exactly what I expect to happen again right here. So as you can see, nice clean market structure. This is the cleanest market structure that you'll ever see. This is exactly what you want to be trading. This is the this is the market structure that'll make you thousands of dollars. Probably the best that I've seen in the month of October and the previous couple of months as well. Unfortunately, we were only able to take a few trades on these moves, and we didn't even capitalize fully off of all of them. So yeah, just going to be waiting for that continuation to the downside. As of right now, price has created that weekly wick, and I expect that the rest of the price action will continue to the downside. We've already started to make lower lows, and yeah, that was basically that. Now, what do I think is going to happen? I think price is just going to continue to sell. If you wanted to enter the trade, you could probably set your stop loss above the EMA here, maybe 20 points. You're not going to get a very great return off of this unless you trail your stops, maybe have a tighter stop loss. You can get a 1 to 2 out of this move. That's what I'm going to do. That's why I have 2 alarms set right here. I have 1 set right here in case price turns around. I can decide whether or not I want to close. And then my stop loss is already set at break even up here. But yeah, once price gets down to these levels, I'm going to remove my take profit. And I'm just going to trail my stop loss very, very closely, probably on the 15-minute, just to watch how price reacts and when it decides that it's going to turn around. You can see that here the last time we created a lower low, the 15-minute time frame created lower low, lower low, lower low. And then we had this quick turnaround at which I would probably exit the trade after this candle. And this would be where I closed, knowing that the next move is probably going to be an aggressive buy. But yeah, that's going to be my plan for this trade here to catch the remainder of the move. Maybe we'll hit, take profit and we'll instantly get that reversal candle. I have no clue. I cannot read the future. Cannot see the future. But yeah, that's a quick recap of that trade. I do expect continuation to the downside. But yeah, let's get into some of these other pairs, starting with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently selling as expected. We were going to fill in this wick from the last weekly candle. The weekly time frame had a sell. We broke previous structure, went bearish on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, same exact thing. Daily time frame went bearish. We created a pullback into the daily EMA, so we're trading above the daily EMA pretty consistently. Also, I was just messing around with this RSI. I don't actually need the RSI. I was just seeing, I used to trade with the RSI back like 2 years ago. I never really learned how to use it correctly. So I was kind of updating my skill set there a little bit to see if maybe there's a way to implement that. But I haven't really found that way yet. Anyways, back to Bitcoin. You can see how on the weekly time frame we're trading above the weekly EMA pretty consistently. I mean, the last time we had a big boom was or the last time we actually broke below the EMA was in 2022. We broke below, broke back above, and since we broke back above in March of 2023, we have not broken below this weekly EMA. So I just expect a quick retest to continue to the upside. And if we do break below, we can probably expect a retest to sell to the downside. I mean, you can read market structure on any pair as long as you can read patterns and understand how each pair moves. Is every pair going to look like Bitcoin? Absolutely not. But I can understand that Bitcoin is moving in this direction for whatever reason. You can see how on the weekly time frame previously created a double top. We broke under the EMA and sold on the daily time frame. Here, created a double top, broke under the EMA, and now we're selling on the daily time frame under the daily EMA. Now, we have retested the EMA 2 times, 3 times if you count this wick, and now we're starting to trade to the downside, created a head and shoulders right here, probably going to get a quick retest and then sell. I don't know how big a retest is going to be. Maybe it will come back into the EMA as it did here multiple times. But until we retest that weekly EMA completely with an actual candlestick or with an actual wick, I expect Bitcoin to continue to trade sideways until this EMA catches up or until Bitcoin falls into the EMA. But yeah, that's basically what I expect to happen there. Yesterday, price was up here. I said I expect it to sell, and it sold. So very, very nice, clean price action. Usually, like cleaner than usual. Bitcoin doesn't usually follow what I expected to do, but this time it followed it perfectly. But yeah, the 4-hour time frame is also currently bearish. We have a lower high and a lower low. So where do you think price is going? It's going to take out this lower low, and there's our bearish time frame. Next, SPX, the S&P 500. So SPX, once again, trading at all-time highs. I mean, since yesterday, I don't think anything has changed on any of these pairs. You can see how we've been opening and heading to the upside every single time on the weekly time frame. But last week, we closed with this rejection candle. I'm trying to see if there are any similar candles. Like maybe this would be a good example where we broke. So we have, this is actually a good example. So what do we have here? We have a push to the upside. We're at all-time highs. We had a quick pullback candle, and then we bought back, and then we're like right above this previous structure. So that's exactly what happened. We're at all-time highs, pullback candle. We're back at all-time highs, and now we have this rejection candle. I do expect this next week to open to the downside, to retest this previous structure, maybe only the wicks. But regardless, we're probably going to have a little bit of selling happening, and then the rest of the week will probably close with a bullish candle, or maybe it'll be a bearish body. I don't know. But once we do get this retest, we could probably expect a continuation to the upside. NASDAQ, not as clean. The previous structure is quite a bit further away. But regardless, you can see how we have similar structure right here. We push up, pull back. We're back at all-time highs. Another pullback into this structure right here, and then a continuation. Would be nice to see that exact same thing happen, where we have the pullback into the previous structure, and then the continuation happening from there. Once again, on US 30, same exact thing right here, and then a continuation. Now, realize, or I want you to notice, not realize, that when this happens, it usually takes a week or two for the pullback to happen. So we might be entering an area where we might break below the EMA and sell, and then it usually struggles. So price trades above the 4-hour EMA pretty consistently, But once it actually breaks underneath, it struggles to break back above. So you can see this in an example here. We broke back below, or we broke below, we retested really clean. I mean, every single time price breaks below the EMA and retests, you can usually catch a pretty solid trade. I mean, it's quick, it's easy, it's clean. Broke below, retested, sold. Broke below, retested, sold. It doesn't happen very like often. Like you can see here, we broke below, but we didn't retest to sell. Same thing here. You have to catch the right area. And I think we might be nearing one of those areas. I just don't think that I don't think we have a lot of room to sell into. Like here, previous structure was quite far away. Same thing here, previous structure was quite far away. Right now, we might be in this type of a move where we're moving sideways into the EMA and then we push higher. Regardless, we do retest with the wick. So here we might retest with the wick and then continue to the upside. But yeah, that's just purely based off of previous market structure and things along those lines. Next is gold. Gold is exciting. So we are currently bullish on the weekly. Daily time frame is currently bearish, right? But the 4-hour time frame is currently bullish. So 4-hour time frame shifted bullish above this structure. We technically went bearish once again. But I do believe that, well, actually, no. I guess it is still bearish on the daily time frame because of the fact that we broke above this point and then we broke below this elbow right here. So then the daily time frame went bearish. However, I do expect price to continue to the upside overall. And here's why. You can see how price technically shifted bullish just for a short amount of time, right? And since then, we had a sell-off. We had technically the higher low being created, and we're trying to create the higher high. Now, as soon as price breaks above this area, anything above this area will be good for buys, okay? So we'll basically, it's actually much cleaner on the 2-hour time frame and the 1-hour time frame. But anything above this area here is good for buys. We broke above these structures. So we had bullish market structure. We had a pullback. We had another bullish market structure. We're having another correction. And during this correction, we are also shifting above the 2-hour EMA. Now, this 2-hour EMA, you'll notice it holds price up really well and it holds price down really well. Now, if we're breaking above the 2-hour EMA, we can probably expect price to start trading above it pretty consistently. So I'm basically just waiting for a break and retest above this area of interest, above this previous structure, and then we will be, good for buys all the way up until these double top. I do believe gold is going to continue breaking through 4,400, probably going to reach 5K early next year at the rate things are going. We do still have 2 months of price action, so it could happen this year. I don't know. We did have quite an aggressive sell-off on gold. We haven't had that in quite a while. So option A is we break through 4,400, we start heading towards 5K, or we start trading sideways. So we could be at this point right here, one of these points, and then we're just going to trade sideways, which is fine. We'll just end up trading sideways and eventually break out and continue heading upwards. But as of right now, short term, we're going to be looking for buys. At the very minimum, into the previous structure right here. Another structure would be right here. And finally, this, and lastly, this, okay? And the only reason I have so many take profits is because with gold, you never really know. But if you are lucky, you can just buy and hold until all-time highs. And that's the way it's been recently. But yeah, 4 hour time frame is technically bearish, but I would call it bullish. We'll skip the dollar index, not really interested in that. Here, we're already getting those sells. Onto the pairs that we were interested in. USD CAD. USD CAD yesterday, I basically said, create a wick to the downside, retest this little area of interest, and we'll see buyers. Exactly what happened. We had the pullback. Well, technically, we had the pullback on Friday, and then Sunday opened, had the push, another pullback, and then continuation. Very clean. We have the head, shoulder, head to illustrate shoulder, head, shoulder, break, retest, and continue. Great take profit here would be, I think, the daily structure. Yeah, so we're almost at the take profit, but obviously once we break through this, we'll have the next higher high. So price could technically trade for another 1 or 2 days, then have a pullback, and then have a continuation overall. So yeah, really nice, really clean. USD CAD did exactly as expected. Unfortunately, I missed out. I guess a proper entry would have been, depending on how aggressive you wanted to trade this. I mean, a proper entry could have been right here. Bullish engulfing after you retest the EMA, stop loss. That would have been a very, very aggressive entry. Not one that I would have taken, not one that I took. But yeah, as of right now, not interested in USD CAD anymore. Unless you see price coming back into these previous structures, into this previous structure, then you might be able to catch a short-term move to the upside, similar to the short-term move you could have caught right here. But that is only if price returns to that area. So as of right now, not interested. AUD USD, still waiting for the break above to continue to the upside. Well, we already broke above and retested this area. The buys were counter trend trade simply because the weekly time frame was technically bullish. Wait. No, simply because price was retesting the weekly EMA, and we could have potentially seen a continuation and a wick fill on the weekly time frame. But overall, the monthly time frame is bearish. We're retesting the monthly EMA. The weekly time frame has shifted bearish. We created a shoulder, head. Now we're creating the next shoulder. But once again, like I said, that weekly EMA held price up pretty well. This week, I do expect a selling candle. So out of all the USD pairs, I think AUD USD has the most selling potential from what I've seen, and we'll confirm that as we continue our analysis. But if you look at it just on a monthly time frame, where are we? Like, we have so much room to sell. Monthly time frame is bearish. We've had the pullback. We have an entire, like, this is going to be the final take profit on the monthly time frame. On the weekly time frame, that gives us a lot of selling room. Like, for an example, NZD USD is going to look the exact same way as AUD USD. Okay, where we have this wick or this move to the downside right here, which kind of makes no sense. I think there's a better, is it NZD CAD? No. There was another pair that looked even better, almost identical to GBP USD. GBP USD, no. So none of them. Okay, so yeah, it was AUD USD and NZD USD. But basically here, we're already halfway. Like, we're retesting these previous structures. Whereas here, we're still so far above these structures. So these structures right here, or this area right here, is the same as this area we're at right here. And you can see how much selling potential AUD USD has compared to NZD USD, which is already retesting these structures. Same thing on the monthly time frame, looks almost identical. I mean, on the monthly time frame, these look almost identical. Retest the EMA, sold, created the lower low, pulled back into the EMA, sold. Bought into the EMA, sold, created the lower low, pulled back into the EMA, sold. So AUD USD, I'll probably be trading very, very regularly for the next month, for the next 2-3 months, maybe. Whereas this one is already on the way to that next lower low, and it may not have as much time as AUD USD does. Anyways, all that being said, doesn't really matter in the short term. In the short term, what we're looking for now is just confirmation that price is going to continue to sell. I was mostly concerned about the fact that we had broken above the daily EMA. Now that we're shifting, so we were above the daily EMA, we were above the 4-hour EMA. Now the 4-hour EMA seems to be creating, first of all, it went bullish. The short term went bullish above the structure, but it's going to go bearish again. Once it goes bearish again, you just wait for a retest of this double top neckline. There's a double top neckline and then sell. That's probably the easiest trade in the world. Clean, simple. You have tons of downwards potential. Now, I don't have the best luck trading AUD USD. I got tricked a few times here, got taken out here. But now I do think that we'll be able to get more consistent moves to the downside and with less trickery. Now, one thing you will notice is that it's not always the cleanest, but this is because of a pullback. I do believe that the pullbacks are always sloppier and messier than the actual moves. So in terms of where we might be right now, compared to the last time price moved, we're probably, so here we're above, we sold below, and then we retested. So we're probably at that retest area. The rest is going to be pretty smooth sailing to the downside. Maybe a break, retest one more time of these structures, and then a continuation on the daily time frame. So short term, just looking for a break and retest on the 4-hour, and that's all you really need to know. That one took quite a while to break down. AUD USD will still be interested. NZD CHF. NZD CHF. Weekly time frame has had or is having a pullback. Daily time frame is having a pullback. Pretty solid pullback. Very, very clean market structure to the upside. Above the 4-hour EMA. Still just waiting for the break and retest of the 4-hour EMA in order to take the sells with the weekly time frame and the daily time frame, which are currently bearish. Okay. Now we're nearing, so we just broke through the round psychological number of 1 or 0.46. So price broke above, retested 0.46, and is now continuing up. We could potentially see price retesting the EMA, or we might just see price reject this previous structure and then sell. On to the next, Euro CHF. 4-hour time frame, weekly time frame is bearish, having the weekly pullback again. Similar to the previous pair. Daily time frame also having a pullback. Daily time frame is currently bearish. 4-hour time frame also above that 4-hour EMA. So we want to wait for price to fully break below the 4-hour EMA, retest, and then sell. That's exactly what we'll be waiting for. 4-hour shift, retest, and then sell. Still waiting on that. Excuse me. Okay, so GBP, JPY. GBP, JPY. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bullish. Still targeting this higher high. We fully retested the EMA. We reacted. We are having the pullback or had the pullback. I think we'll be good to take buys as soon as price manages to break above this EMA. The 4-hour EMA is holding price down currently, but let's say we close with a bullish engulfing candle on the 4-hour time frame, then that's basically all the information we need in order to enter the trade. Obviously, you want to get the best entry possible, so you don't want to just enter blindly. You want to wait for price to push, say on the 30-minute time frame or the 1-hour time frame. Say you want it to create a bullish market structure above this, then you wait for a small pullback, maybe a 15-minute engulfing. Whatever that is, you want lower time frame entry confirmation to get a tighter stop loss. Otherwise, you're going to have to put your stop loss like down here or underneath this wick right here. Still interested, I'll still be waiting for this one. GBP NZD. GBP NZD. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bearish. And 4-hour time frame is currently bullish. So we do have 2 time frames in sync to buy. I wouldn't really do that simply because this looks like more of a pullback than an actual move to me. And what confirms that it's probably just a pullback is the fact that the daily time frame shifted bearish, and we're currently having a daily pullback into the EMA, into the area of interest, and then we'll probably see selling happening. So I would prefer to see the 4-hour time frame push into this area here. So push, 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 create like a head and shoulders double top, shift to the downside underneath this structure point, have a pullback, and then sell. And the EMA would simply do something like this, obviously not exactly like that, but what did I just do? Okay, there we go. Something like this where price breaks above the EMA and then it actually breaks below the EMA once more, confirming that this is basically confirming that price is going to be selling, but also giving us a good entry somewhere like this, stop loss up above this area. And then that's like a 1 to 4 to the downside. Pretty simple trade, pretty great return. But yeah, still waiting on that to happen. NZD CAD weekly time frame is very, very similar to NZD USD, so we could probably expect sells to happen. In fact, if you look at NZD USD and you look at NZD CAD, the weekly candle looks almost the same, where we had 2 weekly pullback candles and then we have this bearish rejection candle. NZD CAD, 2 weekly pullback candles, daily reject or weekly rejection candle. And on NZD USD, we're already seeing the continuation. Like, look at that candle. That is beautiful. Already seeing the continuation happening there. Here, we're starting to see a reaction. Obviously not exactly the same market structure, but the idea remains the same. In fact, you already have a 4-hour doji candle. So that could signify the end of this pullback and the beginning of the downwards move. What else do you need to confirm this? So you have your 1-hour EMA. What do you notice about the 1-hour EMA? Just in this recent price history, I noticed that price respects the 1-hour EMA quite nicely. Another thing I'll notice is that as soon as we reach the 1-hour EMA, we got a doji, and we got an engulfing candle, right? On top of that, you also are starting to see this being a previous structure. Obviously not the best previous structure, but it could count as one. If price breaks below the previous structure, then you might get a pullback and then you might be able to sell underneath. It looks okay. It doesn't look the best, but it is still tradable. Yeah, you basically have the lower low, lower high, and then the next lower low. So weekly time frame bearish, daily time frame is bearish, and 4 hour time frame is bearish. So you have three bearish time frames in sync. Let's see what we have next. But yeah, for this one, I don't know. It's giving you lower time frame moves, but they're a little bit difficult to enter off of unless you get, say, this pullback and then an engulfing candle. So I guess that's exactly what you would want to see. In fact, I think that's what's happening right now. We're starting to try to break below the 15-minute EMA. We're going to have a pullback, then we're going to engulf to the downside. Same thing with the 30-minute time frame. So the 30-minute time frame has reacted from this 30-minute EMA, but you'll notice what happened. Price opened, immediately went to the upside to create the upper wick of this candle. And now the remainder of the wick, or the remainder of the 30 minutes, which will only take, 20, which will take another 28 minutes. We've only been trading this 30-minute candle for 2 minutes now. We'll probably close to the downside and have a continuation underneath the EMA. So it'll fill in this wick right here, and then price should just shift underneath properly and sell. GBP USD, GBP USD, weekly time frame, sold underneath the weekly EMA. Okay. Weekly time frame has sold underneath the weekly EMA. It is bearish. Daily time frame has sold underneath the area of interest, has been selling underneath the weekly EMA. Now, this one I was mostly interested in if we get a daily pullback into this area of interest, which I don't think we will anymore. If we do, then I'll be interested in taking this trade to the downside. But if not, then I simply will not trade it. Okay. This one is pretty easy to break down, just waiting for a pullback to sell. Every time frame is currently bearish. But we would need to see some extra market structure in order to trade this. Euro USD, same exact thing as GBP USD. We're going to be waiting for that pullback. Weekly time frame here is currently bullish. So GBP USD is a little bit better since we're trading with the weekly time frame. Here, the daily time frame had the reaction from the EMA. We had bearish market structure. We had a pullback. We had a reaction. We had another pullback. We had another reaction. Now we're just waiting for the next pullback in order to take the next trade. Very simple, very easy. Currently, nothing to trade here, and we move on. Still waiting on that pullback. Still waiting on this pullback as well. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bullish. Waiting for the daily pullback. 4 hour time frame is currently bearish. So we're on our way. We might have a reaction from this 4 hour EMA, but it's not guaranteed. So it would be best for us to just wait for the full retest of this area of interest before we do anything on this pair. Okay, so are we done? Yeah, so we're done with the pairs that we're interested in. Let's quickly run over them just to make sure. Yep, we're waiting on that, waiting on this. So for the ones that we're waiting on a daily pullback, I guess it really doesn't matter. Yeah, we'll keep them on our list. Let's go ahead and look at what else we have here. This one, even since we've had this conversation, already having a nice push to the upside. So this pullback is very unlikely to happen. In fact, this was probably that pullback. You can see they touched wicks, no diddy, So price basically pushed up, created the higher high, quick little pullback, and engulfed, okay? So price is currently pushing higher, and it'll be very unlikely for us to see that continue or that for that pullback to happen into these previous structures. Euro CAD. Euro CAD. Weekly time frame is currently bearish. We're pulling back into this daily area of interest. Now it's not, I guess it's not a daily area of interest because we only have 1, 2 structure points, but we also do have these wicks here. 4-hour time frame has had this pullback into the double top neckline. From here, I do expect price to sell. Not guaranteed, but I do like the market structure overall. Similar to NZD CAD, I guess. Yeah, similar to NZD CAD, where we're just waiting for a quick pullback to sell. There's really not much here for us to break down other than the fact that price could have a further pullback. Like ideally, right, in a perfect world, our pullback would happen all the way into this area of interest to retest this previous daily structure. But between this and where we are right now is the strong daily EMA, right? So chances of us breaking through this daily EMA to make it to here are kind of low, because if we break above the daily EMA, then price, there's nothing stopping from price from continuing to go up, right? Other than, I guess, the daily structure. I guess the weeks here do have quite large wicks. Like there are some weeks that have quite large pullbacks, but then there are some that have no pullbacks at all. So yeah, for right now, we'll just go with what market structure is telling us. And what market structure is telling us is that we are currently bearish on the weekly and daily time frame. We're underneath the daily EMA. 4-hour time frame is currently bearish. So another thing is if we end up going up to here to retest this previous structure, we'll go bullish on the 4-hour time frame. We'll be trading above the 4-hour EMA. We'll be trading above the daily EMA. So probability of that being in our favor after price makes it up to here is kind of low. We'd have to wait for additional confirmation. We'd have to wait for rejection. We'd have to wait for price to break underneath the 4-hour EMA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as of right now, we are playing the cards that are dealt to us, and this right here is going to be the best option for the sell. As of right now, I think it's setting up for sells. I would just wait for a rejection from here, maybe create the triple top, the reaction, bearish engulfing, retest, and sell. Okay. This one would probably go to the top of the list. Okay, so CHF pairs. Last week we closed with a doji. On this CHF, let's move some of this stuff around. NZD. All right, let's do Euro NZD first. Euro NZD. Weekly time frame is bullish. We're having a pullback on the weekly time frame. Daily time frame is bullish. We are having a pullback on the daily time frame, or we had the pullback on the daily time frame. Now we're having a reaction. Now, last time we reached this daily EMA, we actually tapped into it, and I basically looked at this market structure and I said, okay, what are the similarities between this and this? And then I sent a signal and we took this trade, right? This very, very small trade for a 1 to 2.2. This was on a Friday. So I closed the trade on Friday and said, I don't feel like holding this over the weekend. Now, little did I know, we weren't going to hold over the weekend. We could have held over the next 2-3 months. Very, very clean move to the upside. Now, ideally, we would be able to catch something like that from this area again, except for the fact that it's not as clean as it was right here. Okay. Now, I guess there are a few opportunities for price for us to enter this. And one of the best opportunities being a break and retest above the 4-hour EMA. So here we're below, here we were below. Right now, we're kind of not even like far below. Ideally, if we're going to take this same type of a trade, it is very, very high risk. It would be at this area right here, because then we would be in a similar place, far away from the EMA or far away from the EMA. And this is where we take those buys. So for right now, I wouldn't really be interested in trading this until we break and retest above the EMA or we end up far down here. Because if we enter right now, right, if we enter this trade right now, our stop loss would have to be underneath this area of interest. That is the previous daily structure. Down here, it is underneath the EMA. It is, kind of in the middle of nowhere is this entry. So we wait for price down here. This is where we take our trade. Or we wait for price up here above the 4-hour EMA. And then this is where we take our trade up here. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Still, I'm interested, but I'm still going to be waiting. This might set up sometime, depending on how quickly we get down to here, sometime late this week, like on a Thursday, Friday, or early next week. But overall, not a bad setup. Hopefully we get something close to this. All right, CHF pairs. CHF pairs, weekly time frame, having that pullback. I do believe we're going to have a few weeks of pulling back on CHF. We've been selling very, very aggressively. We're due for something like this. We're due for a swift, quick pullback. Does that mean we can take buys? Potentially. I mean, the daily time frame is about to shift bullish here. The 4-hour time frame is not bullish yet. We're still bearish, but they'll both shift around the same area. Another thing you'll notice is we already shifted above the 4-hour EMA. So as of right now, you could take a riskier trade, retest to buy, not terrible. You have your shoulder, head, shoulder, retest to buy. Or you wait for a day or two, wait for price to push up to here. Then you wait for a proper pullback. The daily time frame will be bullish. Your 4-hour time frame will be bullish. Then you wait for the 4-hour pullback. It's basically the same exact thing, just with a few extra steps. You have to wait for the push, then the pullback, then the continuation to buy. That is what I would be looking for on GBP-CHF. But in terms of sells, I would be waiting for sells, but only once we retest this weekly area of interest up here. That would be the best place for us to take any kind of sells. A retest and then sell. AUD-CHF, same exact thing here. Weekly time frame is having a pullback. We have a lower low. We never broke below this lower low. We never closed below this lower low. So right now, price could literally come all the way up to here, not break above this point, and then continue to the downside. And this will be a completely valid trade. We wouldn't have gone bullish on the weekly time frame, but we also would not have yet, like up here, we wouldn't have yet created the lower low either. Now on the monthly time frame, same exact thing. We could be having a monthly pullback all the way up to this previous structure, and then still have a valid move to the downside. So here we'll just have to play the waiting game. If we're looking for sells with the higher time frames, you have to wait for proper confirmation, meaning a break underneath the daily EMA for starters, break underneath the 4-hour EMA, all of that good stuff. As of right now, I'm not interested. There's still a lot of price action to be had. And I'm guessing it's going to be similar with these NZD CHF and Euro CHF, but I am being patient. I am waiting to see what ends up happening with those. In fact, if I was to be completely transparent and if I was to be picky, I would only go with NZD CHF because I can see similarities with the way that the EMA is moving, with the way that the daily time frame is pulling back. I would simply pick those. I would simply pick NZD CHF over Euro CHF, especially with the way that Euro CHF has opened and pushed up. Maybe tomorrow we'll come back and I'll change my mind and I'll add Euro CHF back to our pair list. As of right now, that is not happening. GBP CHF, we just went over it. AUD CHF, basically the same. I'm not going to break these down completely. I'm just going to tell you guys what I'm thinking. But yeah, either if you're going to be looking for buys, wait for the daily time frame to go bullish, wait for the 4 hour time frame to go bullish, which it already is. But if you're waiting for sells, then you have to wait for the break and retest of the very minimum, the 4 hour EMA. And even better, it would be if you could wait for the break and retest of the daily EMA. So that's like at least a week or two of price action that needs to be had there. USD CHF, we already talked about this one for buys. The weekly time frame was bullish. The daily time frame was bearish, but the 4 hour time frame was already bullish. I was just saying maybe we can get a pullback into this previous structure, and then we could see the buys happening. Price said, no, sir, we're not pulling back, and we just took off. So for USD CHF, I think this one's already done for. Obviously, we might get a daily pullback, which could be nice to see. Daily pullback, no matter how big, and then a continuation to the upside. Since the daily time frame will be closing bullish, this will instantly turn into a great trade. I mean, realistically, let's go ahead and pretend like we're going to get a trade somewhere around here. So we have our area of interest. We have a few structures here, 2, 3 structures. This would be our daily area of interest. So do we have a round psychological level? Yes, we do, 0.85 or 0.805. So we have round psychological level. We have an area of interest. Weekly time frame is bearish. We have a double bottom on the weekly time frame. We wouldn't really be retesting a previous structure or the EMA. I don't think we would get much of a candlestick rejection here either. On the daily time frame, kind of the same story, not much EMA, not much pattern, unless, yeah, there's not much here for that. Retesting previous structure, this would count as a previous structure. EMA, I mean, EMA is pretty far away unless by the time, let's say this takes a super, super long time to pull back, say a day or two or a week or two, then maybe if the pullback is super, super slow, the EMA might catch up. Then you'll be able to check this, but as of right now, not exactly the case for us. Candlestick rejection, maybe if you get a doji or rejection candlestick, then you go ahead and look at your 4 hour. 4 hour, maybe you get a double bottom at this area of interest, retesting previous structure, potentially retesting a previous structure of some sort. EMA, maybe the EMA catches up, and then candlestick rejection. So you could be looking at a 100% trade, but let's say you don't have this, you don't have previous structure, you don't have EMA, then you're looking at like an 80. So between 80 to 100% of a trade setup for buys on USD CHF, which has been mostly selling for quite a while now. But you can see how price is turning around, right? So I read somewhere, I don't know if it was in a book or on a post or something like that, it was saying price moves like an oil tanker, right? It doesn't turn around really quickly. It has to take time. It has to, it's like a large truck. You have to make certain, maybe a 5-point turn, maybe a 3-point turn. You can't just make a U-turn super quickly. You have to slow down. You have to make your turn, and then you have to re-accelerate, right? It's not just going to be like a 1-2 type of thing. So that's what price is doing. It slowed down, turned around, and now it's accelerating. And most people lose because they don't wait for prices to turn, or they don't wait for price to slow down. They don't wait for price to turn around. They just want it to accelerate in the opposite direction. So here we can see a perfect example of that happening. It slowed down, it turned around, and now it's starting to push in the opposite direction. And the push, if I'm going to be honest with you and helpful, is usually like going to happen. The acceleration usually going to happen once price successfully breaks above EMAs and successfully shifts structure. That's when the push actually happens. Anyways, CAD CHF, we're seeing the same exact thing happen. Prices breaking above the daily EMA, above the daily structure. Weekly time frame, also having the pullback. I mean, here there's a few weekly structures we could be targeting. Here, here, maybe here, but I wouldn't really count on that. It's not much of a structure. But there's not an area of interest. Notice I only said weekly structures, not weekly areas of interest. Well, actually, let's see. This is a weekly area of interest here. This one right here. Why? I count this engulfing bullish candle as its separate structure. If it had enough buyers to where it engulfed the previous candle and then it engulfed the fall, the sellers took over the market again, this right here became its own separate structure. So we have 1, 2, 3 structures right there. So if price does make it for some reason all the way up to here, we could probably, like if price makes it all the way up to here, we'll probably be able to take sells because this will take 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I don't know how long it'll take, but by the time it takes that time, the EMA will probably catch up and then we'll get the sellers back in the market. So yeah, it looks like we will be seeing quite a bit of buyers, quite a bit of bullish price action on the CHF pairs. Okay, next is AUD JPY. AUD JPY. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bullish. 4-hour time frame is bullish. We're at a higher high. Nothing to trade here. You just have to wait for a pullback into some kind of a area of interest, maybe an area of interest here in order to take more buys. Not interested. Same thing here, just waiting for a pullback into the EMA, into an area of interest. Not interested. We're at a higher high, waiting for a pullback, at least into the previous structures. Not interested. Here, we had the pullback, we had a push. Now we're turning around. Daily time frame is about to go bearish, meaning that the pullback will have begun. This is probably going to be in line with the CHF or the CHF pairs that are, so here they're buying, right? We're having a pullback, they're buying, versus here, they're going to be selling. So we're actually going to be seeing quite a bit of selling on CHF JPY. So this could be a potential trade to the downside. On the weekly time frame, what do you see? I see that price pushed up. We had a doji candle. So this is that oil tanker slowing down, and this is it turning around, right? So this is pushing up, slowing down. Now we're starting to see price turn around, okay? So we're turning around. Next, we're going to see the acceleration. Now, the acceleration is going to happen after price successfully shifts bearish on the daily. So that's when this candle closes. And then it has a pullback potentially on the 4-hour time frame. I mean, this is as good as it gets, right? We're shifting bearish on the daily time frame. The 4-hour time frame, guess what? Is also going to shift bearish at the same time with this next 4-hour candle close. And then what's going to happen? We're going to have to pull back into the 4-hour EMA. Notice how price, I guess it doesn't really use the 4-hour EMA that much, maybe the 2-hour. Yeah, so the 2-hour is a lot more respected. So I would just wait for price to successfully shift here, wait for the candle to close on the daily time frame. And the next day or two, we're probably going to see a pullback into the 2-hour EMA. It's going to be slow. It's probably going to be a little choppy, but that's good because that allows the EMA to catch up to current price action. And at this point right here is when you should be able to take a good trade to the downside, okay? That's exactly what I'll be waiting for. You wait for the reaction, and then you have your acceleration to the downside immediately after that happens. So yeah, that's what we'll be waiting for. It could happen this week. It could happen next week. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it, most likely for sells, okay? Now, JPY, this is CHF JPY, okay? There's a difference from the other JPY pairs. CHF is such a strong currency that it will affect the Japanese yen, whereas you can see how on the other pairs, the Japanese yen is the stronger currency. That's why they're all moving relatively similarly. They're all moving upwards. CHF JPY will start to move downwards. Okay. And you'll notice how here we're at all-time highs at CHF JPY. Like the price has never been this high versus on USD, all these other JPY pairs. We're not, I guess, Euro JPY is an exception. But all of these other ones are similar in a position where we've been at all-time highs before, and we're currently not at all-time highs. So, yeah, just to differentiate from one another. All right, next is AUD NZD weekly time frames bullish. Daily time frame is currently bullish. We are now pushing those highs. Realistically, price should pull back into these previous structures in order for us to take a trade. Not a huge fan of the way price is moving, but I guess it could be worse. Weekly time frame, daily time frame, 4-hour time frame are all bullish. If we do get this pullback, 4-hour time frame will go bearish, but we will be retesting the EMA, which is important. Price here loves the 4-hour EMA, and as soon as we retest the 4-hour EMA, we usually get some nice moves in either direction. So if price can retest this 4-hour EMA, after this pullback happens, price will catch up to the EMA, or EMA will catch up to price. They'll meet in the middle, they'll kiss, and then they'll move their separate ways, right? So that's what price is probably going to do. AUD NZD, I do like this one. I'm not going to be interested in it directly like right now. I think this could take 1, 2, 3 days of pulling back, potentially, maybe 2 days of pulling back, depending on how this candle closes. We could trade upwards for another 2 days and then have a 3 to 5 day pullback and then have the reaction. I have no clue. As you can see here, price on this pair moves pretty aggressively. I mean, it moves in one direction and it keeps moving in that direction quite a while. AUD CAD nearing the bottom of our list here. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is currently still bearish. Now, since the daily time frame was bearish and since the 4-hour time frame was currently bearish, I was interested in sells, but only once we broke and retested under the 4-hour EMA and underneath this structure or area of interest on the daily time frame. Okay, I don't think that's going to happen. I actually would prefer to take buys, and that's what I've been saying for a while now. Weekly time frame is currently bullish, and the daily time frame as of today will shift bullish as well, giving us a good opportunity to take some nice trades. Market structure here hasn't been the cleanest. I wouldn't exactly know how to trade this. It is quite choppy at times. And I guess the last thing I want to do is get stuck in this sideways type of movement. So I'm just going to say I'm not interested. And I'm going to save myself the headache of questioning why price isn't moving the way I want it to move. GBP CAD weekly time frame, bearish. Now we are seeing the reaction from the weekly EMA, as I explained. Daily time frame, same exact thing. Really, really clean. This is the last time we touched the EMA right here, or we were close to the EMA, but you can see how the daily structure is very similar. We pushed to the downside, we slowed down, right? So depending on what time frame you're trading, like primarily, right? For the what's it called? Visual that I gave you guys earlier with the oil tanker, it can differ depending on which time frame. Like if you're trading from a weekly area of interest and the weekly time frame is having a pullback, then your doji or your turnaround is going to happen on the weekly time frame. It'll be a doji or multiple doji candles. However, if we're trading on a daily time frame pullback, then it'll happen on the daily time frame. So we can see that doji, we can see that happening with cleaner structure on the 4-hour time frame. In fact, you can kind of notice a few similarities between what price is doing here and what it's doing here. It got really choppy, and then it shifted above the EMA, retested and bought, similar to, I guess, the way it did over here. We broke above, retested, bought, broke above, retested, bought. So ideally, price would be, the EMA would be a little bit closer to price. Here, we're a little bit far away. So I'm still going to be waiting for a break, retest, buy above here. Or if price doesn't end up doing that, then potentially a reaction to the downside, chop, 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 and then finally a break above, retest to buy. Once the EMA finally gets shifted above, that would be ideal to see for our trade. As of right now, not too interested, but I just wanted to kind of give that quick little breakdown for the GBP CAD pair. But yeah, going to be looking for buys overall. I do think market structure is bullish. We're kind of trading inside of this channel right now for a visual like this. Before it was more of a wedge, like we were really squeezing out the top. We're bouncing around, but now we're back at the bottom. And from the bottom, we usually end up trading towards the top. Now, how do I know price is going to continue doing this? Well, simply because the monthly time frame is bullish. The weekly time frame is bearish, but we're trading above the weekly EMA, right? We are above the monthly EMA. We're above the weekly EMA. We're underneath the daily EMA. So ideally, step one would be to break above the 4-hour EMA, and then we'll worry about the daily EMA when that happens. So as of right now, not interested, but it is not a bad trade setup for maybe the next couple of days. Now, GBP AUD and Euro AUD are our last two pairs. Weekly time frame is bullish on this one, and weekly time frame is bullish on this one. Like there's some hair in my mouth. Nasty. Weekly time frame is bullish. I guess daily time frame next is bearish. Daily time frame is bearish here. 4-hour time frame is bearish. 4-hour time frame is bearish. So realistically, what are we trying to do here? I would be looking to buy, but we have shifted bearish on GBP AUD, or we have shifted underneath the EMA on GBP AUD. That's something to consider. Euro AUD, we're still doing that. You can see how we've already started to turn around. I would be more interested in taking sells if we had a pullback into the daily EMA. That would be the best option for us. So still waiting on that, not really anything to trade. So let's go ahead and sort through these really quickly. Yeah, still moving very nicely on GB or NZD USD. We should reach take profit today or tomorrow. Good hold overall over the weekend. That's a good one. I haven't held a trade over a weekend in probably a month or two. It's been a while. So Euro CAD, a weekly time frame, or sorry, 4-hour time frame should see the reaction to the downside. You're just looking for lower time frame entry signals for this one. So this one is going to be at the top of the list because it could happen the quickest. Realistically, we're already at that area of interest. Not really a daily area of interest, more of a 4-hour area of interest, but it is in the parameters for sells underneath, still bearish on the 4-hour, retesting the neckline of the 4-hour structure, underneath the EMA on the 4-hour, underneath the EMA on the daily time frame is bearish, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So should be seeing some sells happening there. AUD USD should be seeing some sells happening here as well. Already seeing the reaction to the downside. I mean, exactly as we talked about while we were having this conversation. We've been on the call for about an hour, and that was these two candles right here. So very, very nice having the reaction to the downside. Now we should just see the 4-hour time frame. Shift bearish again, retest sell. So this is a break, retest sell. Shift. I guess this is a break and retest to sell as well. Break retest to, so this one has already gone bearish on the 4-hour time frame. Break retest to buy, pull back, pull back, pull back, pull and pull back. Okay, so these are basically in order. I guess depends on, this is daily pullback, daily pullback, daily pullback, lower time frame pullback, daily pullback, 4-hour shift to structure, 4-hour shift. Okay, so these are all in order now. Yeah. All right, so from the top. Here, basically waiting for a lower time frame shift of structure to sell. Any entry signal you really need, to be honest. 4-hour break and retest to sell, 4-hour break and retest to sell underneath the EMA. I guess this would be more of a daily close than a pullback to sell. So this one would go below this one. GBP USD 4-hour break and retest to sell above the EMA. Daily pullback to sell, pullback to sell. These are all daily. Let's see. Yeah, so lower time frame pullback to sell, daily pullback to sell, daily pullback to sell, daily pullback to sell, and daily pullback to buy. Okay, that is all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.